Okay, good evening. Welcome to the weekly take on the market. Today is actually May 8th, Thursday. I'll be out of the office tomorrow, so I had to do the video today. It's about 7 o'clock Pacific time. So the market is closed for the day. So we'll just be missing 1 day's of data. Tomorrow's action on Friday. I'll be your host. My name is Scott St. Clair. I'm the manager of the Premium Product Group here at Investors Business Daily. Please take a moment to read the disclaimer. I'm not licensed. Can't tell you what to buy, what to sell, what to hold. Okay, so market indices, industry groups, stocks to watch, quote of the week. We'll follow the usual routine. Just one slide. I wanted to check where the AAII numbers were. Remember last week saying that they would move up, and they did from 20% to 29%. So no surprise, the market rallied a bunch off the lows and people got bullish. Surprise, though, they didn't get all that bullish. So you still are at 51% bears, which is way above the historical average, and 29% bulls is still below the historical average. I can't explain why people are afraid to be bullish if you believe these sentiment indicators. So I find it very interesting. It's kind of an interesting time. It could be the news. Maybe it's highly driven news. People are afraid of the news. Seems like there's always every day or every other day, there's like a news event during the middle of the day, or the market will do something. Like I'll see a big bar on the market and think, oh, there must be news, bad news or good news, because you'll see a really large bar on the intraday charts. So maybe that's kind of keeping people on the sidelines. But I think technically the market is fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. So I would be mildly bullish to, I guess if I think neutral is probably, I don't see how you could be bearish here. I think you could be neutral if you don't want to be bullish. I could see that, but I think to be bearish, I'd want to see like an undercut of some of the most recent rallies. So let's pull up the charts. Let me turn off my camera. I think that's the last slide. Yeah. Let me make sure I'm sharing my chart. I don't want to do this video again. And you should see a chart of the NASDAQ. So you have like somewhere in here, I can't remember when the NVIDIA news, you had the Apple news. This was the negative GDP print day. Boy, I didn't draw that arrow very well at all. That's strange. Where the market opened lower and then closed basically unchanged on the NASDAQ and actually blew on the S&P. I felt that was a very good tell. Today, the market, was having a pretty good day, but at the end of the day, it sold off. So it just turned into kind of an okay day. Still looks like an accumulation day. The index was up 1%. The volume was higher than the previous day, but it could have been a better day if the market had closed an hour earlier, or maybe the selling would have come in an hour earlier. And either way, it would have closed how it did. So I'm not wildly bullish over my skis. I do have a single short in kind of a synthetic one in an ETF, and I have a handful of longs, and I'm just trying to make some progress. I think Marco Minervini calls it either a hard penny, a hard easy dollar environment or a hard penny environment. I don't know. You guys would know that quote he uses better than me, but the gist of it is you really want to be in an easy dollar environment. So I don't feel like we're in that either. But the sentiment keeps me from thinking that maybe this is a bear market rally. So I'd like to get above all the moving averages. I think that would help. Maybe the market just needs time. and that's fine. I don't know why doesn't always have to be a bull market, a bear market at every single moment. It's not that black and white. The stock market, the S&P. So this is the first time I've seen this. Yeah, not a great close on the S&P. That looks like a bit of stalling. So you see how it closed up 0.5%. After being up as much as maybe 1.5%. The volume is higher. So this is looks like a bit of a stalling day. Now it is up 0.5%, so it's close. If it closed up like 0.2% or something, then it'd definitely be the perfect definition of stalling. The fact that it closed a little bit above that, maybe you give it a tiny bit of the benefit of the doubt, but the market's come a long way. I think at one point I had calculated it moved 17% in 19 days or 19% in 17 days or something. So it for it to digest these gains is not unheard of. So the jury is out on the market. And I'll go to Mark Minervini again, and he was on the podcast yesterday maybe, but I listened to it today, the IBD podcast, and he talked about the indexes, and he basically just, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I get the impression he just doesn't. They're just not that important to him. If maybe even less than that. So he's like, well, I'm looking for stocks to buy. If there's stocks to buy, I buy them. If there aren't stocks to buy, I don't buy them. I'm not worried about what the S&P is doing or the NASDAQ. And I think that's the right strategy. That's the strategy that I've gravitated to in the last 12, 15 years, kind of away from the indexes a little bit. I think you have to look at them because you need a relative standpoint. So it's hard to gauge relative strength if you don't have another thing to measure it against. But outside of that, if I'm in the mode right now, if I see something I like, I buy it, and if I see something I think could be shorted, I'm probably in the mode that I'll short that too. But I haven't had seen a lot of that to want to be like, net short any names. I had like a hedge in Palantir with I was short the ETF and long the stock, and that worked for a day, and I took off the hedge, and it's incredible. I couldn't believe how much Palantir was up today. And we'll get to that. So that doesn't seem like bear market action, but we'll have to wait and see. So S&P, NASDAQ, Dow. Let's look at the Dow. How about the Russell? Huh, not a bad day. There's the ETF that I was telling you guys about. It's going to be slow. I don't expect to get rich off of this thing. Just trying to keep like a moderate position and leave it. But hanging in there. Just barely off 52-week highs. And let's see if it can get any kind of legs coming out of here. Gold. So did it make a nominal high, 316.41? It got close and then sold off today pretty hard. I'm still in the camp that gold is going lower, but I didn't have hardly any conviction in that camp 2-3 days ago. So I'm not short gold. I got out I think I told the story on why I got out here. Just glad to be out with after I got short a little too soon in the pain that I had to endure. But I think that's going lower, and so if gold's going lower, maybe the safety trade is off, and if safety trade is off, the money's going to find a home somewhere. And where might that home be? I'm not much of, if at all, into crypto. I've never owned a cryptocurrency. I've owned an ETF like this before. This ETF looks really strong. So this, technically, I should have bought that. I think I talked about that, how that's just a really good technical setup, and had quite the day today. And then I noticed on my Twitter sphere, this doesn't look as good, but wow, what a day. Ethereum was up 18% today. So that looks like animal spirits, liquidity type action. And if there's liquidity and animal spirits in the market, then stocks are probably going higher. The correlation with Bitcoin, I guess, and the NASDAQ is extremely high. You know, a lot of people say it's a store of value, but at least mostly it's uh, um, correlated highly with the NASDAQ. So take that for what it's worth. But I found this interesting. This is interesting action with Ethereum and and Bitcoin. And we'll look at some of those crypto related stocks. So let's jump. I think that's all I had on the overall market. I think the bottom line is you're just kind of in no man's land. It's not bullish, it's not bearish, it's somewhere in between, and maybe it's 60%, 70% leaning towards the bullish camp, 30% leaning the other way. But I need more evidence both ways before I will put on more size and conviction. Gold, silver is 1, computer software education is 2, tobacco is 3. This hasn't really changed much, if I recall, from last week. You can see, I guess if we look here, retail discount, banks foreign, 12 to 8. Education, security, gaming, retail drugstores. There's only 3 stocks there. And I've probably mentioned before, we're doing a total revamp of the industry groups, try to reduce the number, trying to basically consolidate groups with 3 stocks. It's just not a good signal in our humble opinion with 3 stocks. So more to come in that regard. So this weekend, do your work. Don't get lazy on the industry groups. I can sometimes I go through it and nothing's really sticking out to me, and I'll get lazy on it, and then I just have to remind myself not to do that, because as soon as you do that, there'll be a big money making signal in there that you don't want to miss. All right, so let's talk about stocks before I forget. So let's go with the crypto related theme. So here's Coinbase. They bought somebody today, I think I heard. And there's a lot of these patterns. So I think you could manufacture some buy points along the way if you really wanted. Now, the reason, well, there's probably a couple of reasons. It's probably too deep, but remember, ideal double bottom. Let's look at some really good double bottoms, because there's a lot of double bottoms. And what's the problem with the double bottoms in the current market is, where's that really good Netflix double bottom? I traded it at O'Neill, so it's somewhere in here. Here it is, 2010. Yeah, I just started at O'Neill. So this is a really strong double bottom. Now, what's the difference in this double bottom and the coin double bottom? And this is Netflix in 2010. Anyone? Bueller? Prior uptrend, right? Really strong prior uptrend, builds a double bottom. Let's pull the index across the top. You can see the market comes down, makes a low, makes another low. So prior uptrend, that's the key to some of these patterns, these sound patterns. So for coin, I mean, I guess you could pretend, oh, this is the prior uptrend, but it's not. It needs to be more in the from a solid, technical setup standpoint, more in this area. So there's no prior uptrend on that, and that's the problem with a lot of these double bottoms I'm going to pull up. So Coinbase MSTR actually looks a little cleaner now. No double bottom because it didn't undercut. So you could say maybe this is a cup with handle, but the handle is not very good. So sometimes I think, you know what, I just want to own the stock and I'll just buy it there. And I've done that before. I don't want to say I've never done that before. I really want to own the stock. I'm going to manufacture some kind of buy point. If we look at the weekly on this, do a prior uptrend? This is a little bit better than coin. I don't know if you want to include this one, but you do have, 230 to 340. Let's look at the daily again. No, that's part of the potential double bottom. So what if you were to include this as a double bottom with a 404 buy point? Then you could have this as a prior uptrend. You see how there's some art and some science to it. So, but this one's acting like if you force me to buy coin or MSTR, I guess I would buy this one. I just don't have the heart to buy either one. I'm just not sure I understand the whole crypto thing. I have a bias towards it. To me, in the end, they're all going to go the way of the dodo bird. But that's just my bias. I don't have any knowledge or anything of how that's all going to play out. It just seems like I'm not sure where the for lack of a better term, the value is in them. So, but I have to admit, I am tempted by the action just from a technical standpoint in Bitcoin. And maybe I could buy this and just stop myself out if it doesn't work. So, because it made a pretty good move last time it broke out. So, coin, MSTR, I'm not sure what else is out there in that universe of names. All right. Too much on that group, especially for somebody who knows so little about it. Let's jump to some of the big ones. Turn off the index line again. NVIDIA. So, relative strength 70. Fundamentally, great company. Fundamentals are good. It's not doing anything wrong. I just think it needs at best, if you're bullish of NVIDIA, it's just going to need a lot of time to kind of digest the big move that it's made. Now, in the process of making the big move, they've stacked on incredible earnings and cash flow and all of that. So a lot of it could be justified, but I just think it needs time. Tesla. So hanging in there, double bottom. Again, what's wrong with this double bottom? Prior uptrend. You want to use that as a prior uptrend? I think it's a stretch, honestly. If it did this and stopped there, then I would say, yeah, that's definitely could qualify as double bottom. But when it comes all the way back to where it was, it's a stretch. So Tesla, right or wrong, sometimes it was one of my favorite shorts. Right now, I'm just neutral on it. I don't see any reason to be short it. I think I'd have a hard time being long it, so I just do nothing with it. Apple, I think broken. Google, broken. Just avoids. Microsoft, it's okay. Building a pattern. Big, liquid, great company. So hard to argue with Microsoft. Netflix, definitely the leader of this whole group. Oh, how about this double bottom? Well, how did I forget about that? So look at that uptrend, right? Huge prior uptrend, much more solid double bottom pattern. Apple, Google, Netflix, and Nvidia. What else am I missing in that? Oh, Amazon. No, I was missing one. Just neutral, do nothing. Let's look at the ETF that I like to trade, FANG A. Getting really quiet for a for a 3 times ETF. It is really quiet. This is very interesting to me. This is the first I've noticed this, how quiet that is. And that type of quiet is usually like calm before the storm. So maybe there's a big move coming, and I don't know if it's up or down. But when they get really quiet like that and tight, they usually portends to a big move. Now, the fact that it's made a move and then gotten quiet and held the gains, my instinct is that higher. That would be like if you forced me to take one side or the other, that's the side I would take. So big and liquid is holding in pretty good. Let's look at more speculative names, because I like to look at speculative names because I like that term animal spirits. I believe Schiller, the Yale professor, coined the term. In fact, I think he even wrote a book called Animal Spirits. And I think it's important. I really do that people are willing to take risk. If they're willing to put on risk, then that I'm willing to put on risk. I want to see people taking risk. So now I don't know. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. And this is a real bull bear struggle. But look at that quarter from Carvana, and the stock is basically at all-time highs. So speculative name, but all-time highs. Can't argue with that action. What else is out there that's well, we can, I don't know if I would call Palantir speculative, but this is really good action. Like I would not have expected that type of day. And because it never quite broke out, the pattern is still locked in. So this could end up being a cup with handle, and you could end up having a handful of days here, kind of a cup with handle pattern. It's really deep. I would have thought broken with the reaction to the earnings. The earnings were good and the stock sold off. That's usually a negative, but 2 days later, it's gotten back almost the entire move. Very strong action by Palantir today. UPST and Affirm, I would consider these areas that I would go to short if I wanted to be short. So they announced earnings, stock gap down, but then stopped going down. So that would get me to pause. Affirm announces earnings, stock up, that would get me to pause. So you can kind of see I put all these puzzle pieces together. RBRK, double bottom, hanging in there. What's Crowd? So, I mean, not setting the world on fire, but still above the pivot. In the powers section, so TLN I sold today just because two reasons actually. The numbers weren't all that exciting. They lost money. It's like, okay, I think the street expected that. Otherwise, stock would have been down a lot. Opened unchanged, tried to go up, and started to give it all back. And so I said, enough. But yesterday, I think it was, or 2 days ago, VST announced earnings, and they had a negative earnings number. Stock wasn't down all that much, but I just would like to see the spigots be turned on as far as earnings. Speculative, you got Oklo. You had the whole thing with the nuclear on the energy front, and Oklo tried to go up, had a really good day here, but not terrible. It's holding okay, but no follow through. In China land, I do own BABA. This one's my favorite, right or wrong. I think it's big, liquid, and if China works, it's going to go up. I think for a while it saw this as a cup with handle. I actually see it as a cup. It might need some time, but I would fast forward 2-3 months. I could see that me buying that or adding to it. I should say I do own that one. All right, in the other double bottom areas, you have Hood. So I think this could have been bought, and I like that prior uptrend. Quarterly earnings are really good. I have to be honest with you, I don't know why I don't own this one. Just couldn't seem to pull the trigger. The earnings came out, stock went down, but then stopped going down. This is a leader. HIMS. So no, I don't like this pattern as well, but boy, the stock is sure strong. Quarterly earnings are really good. I would say acting like a leader. So you have Palantir, Hood, HIMS, these smaller names, but I would say they have leadership qualities for sure. You have the possibility of the crypto, right or wrong. What else is out there? That's kind of beating its chest, trying to hold. Oh, Duolingo. DUOL. It broke out, held the gains. What about App? I think they announced earnings, and it's not a great pattern. Again, so you see a lot of these patterns, right? Sharp break, double bottom. It's going to be very interesting to see how they play out. I think this one's an avoid. I'd rather own Hood or Hims or Palantir. And if you can't make money in those, it seems unlikely you're going to make money in App 11 as well. Speculative AI, Tem. I like this name a lot. Again, what's this pattern, right? Same pattern. Sharp break, double bottom. I bought this stock a couple of times. I do own this one. And it's high octane, it was up 11% today. When it moves great. But it's not an easy one to own, that's for sure. But a great one to watch from an animal spirit standpoint. If this stock can go higher, then probably a good chance that the market is fine and wants to go higher. The VIX, no, it's not a stock, but typically when you get these big spikes and it gives them all back, the fear has been kind of wrung out of the market. There are a couple of other, so XICY is Chinese. They look better on the weekly charts because of the filled in action, but that's building a base. Interesting. That Rheinmetall one, which is the German defense contractor. To me, this was a high tide flag, acting great. So if you bought here is the high tide flag, it's a 300, 310. You're at 383. It's acting great. Because I felt like it was a little late to the ball game, I got out, and looks like I've gotten out too soon. What else? I think that might be. I did mention the. I think that might be it. So I think you want to be long just a little bit, probing, seeing if you can make headway. I'm going to quote Mark Minervini again. If you can't make money 20% invested, there's no reason to be 100% invested. If you can't make money or make progress 60% invested, there's no reason to be 80% invested. So wherever you are, 20, 40, 60% invested or whatever, see if you can start making progress. And if you can't, then there's no reason to increase your exposure. And if you can, then you can start adding more names and or adding to the names that you have. All right. So quote of the week, this is the Mark Minervini special. By keeping track of your results, you'll gain insight into yourself. Very important. I think a lot of people don't spend enough energy on knowing themselves. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time on patterns, and they want to identify the perfect buy point. And this is a game. This is you're battling yourself. I have a quote on my desk. I'm not playing against the market. I'm playing against myself. Whatever might be wrong is wrong with me and not the market. I guess that could have been my quote too. I've given away a quote. I messed that up. Anyways, keep track of your results. You gain insight into yourself. You're trading that no book, seminar, indicator, or system could ever tell you. I found that my performance consistency really improved when I started journaling my performance month by month. So every month I take my statements, I dump them into a folder to save. I take the results for the month compared to the previous month, and I plot that on a chart, and so I can kind of see my equity curve. And I prefer an equity curve that's just kind of gradual from left to right. And it gives me good feedback. If there's a bad break in there, then I know something's probably wrong with me. If it starts to really go parabolic and stacking month by month, that's great too. But I also get a little anxious of that as well. that, that's not sustainable as well. So 2020, for example, the 2020 bull market, my equity curve really started to get steep, and I probably could have. I had a fantastic year in 2020, but probably could have done better if I hadn't, tried to manage that curve so much, because I probably, cut off the returns a little too quickly in that year. But it saved me the next year in the bear market, because as soon as the market changed, my equity curve just made the single stopped going up or started coming down a little bit. I was aware that something was wrong a lot sooner than most, I would bet. So you take the good with the bad. So keep good results. I think you'll find it will improve your performance. Okay, 800-831-2525, Market Surge at investors.com. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll probably see you back next Friday. Bye-bye.